Thank you, Mr. Jain. The speaker for our opening address has been a strategic management consultant and is now Minister of State for Finance. That is a perfect set of qualifications for opening a business summit. So please welcome Mr. Jayant Sinha, Honorable Minister of State, Ministry of Finance.
Honorable Chief Minister of Andhra Pradesh, colleagues from the Council of Ministers, distinguished guests, friends from the media, I'm very glad to have this opportunity to spend 10 or 15 minutes with you telling you a little bit about how we are thinking about the economy and, of course, the question everybody wants to know about, which is how are we thinking about the budget. So let me spend a few minutes laying out some priorities and perhaps a framework for thinking about both the economy as well as what we're thinking of specifically as far as the budget is concerned. We've all agreed, I think, collectively as a nation, and the decisive mandate that we got in May is demonstration of that, is that we are not satisfied with the growth and the stagnation that we experienced over the last 5 or 6 years. Everybody wants to see this economy growing at 7 to 8% a year, if not even higher. And we want a growth rate that is non-inflationary and is sustainable from an environmental point of view. One of the serious challenges we face, of course, is global climate change and the water shortages that we are likely to face as well. So we want growth that is at 7 to 8% a year, but that is non-inflationary so that we don't enter that boom-bust cycle that we've seen before, and that is environmentally sustainable. At the same time, even as we're growing at that rate, it's very important for us to create those millions and millions of net new jobs in the formal sector that our people need, our young workforce needs. And this is not simply a matter of political necessity. I think all of us honestly believe it is our moral responsibility to be able to make sure that these young people entering this workforce get the good, high-paying, high-quality jobs they need at this stage in their lives. Now, to be able to achieve that, our economy has to be globally competitive. And much of what we're doing is to focus on making this economy much more globally competitive. But I want to add one more thing to this in terms of the economic framework and how we are thinking about the budget, which is that it's not just necessary to be globally competitive, we also have to have an innovation-driven economy as well. So we have to be globally competitive, but we need to be innovation-driven, and that's where I'm going to spend the bulk of my remarks today. Now, as you look at globally competitive thinking and what do we need to do for the economy to be globally competitive, we have to start with the high quality infrastructure. Now, whether that's roads, highways, ports, all of those sectors need attention, all of those sectors need investment so that we genuinely have the high quality infrastructure that we need to power our growth forward and to avoid the supply side bottlenecks. And a very important aspect of infrastructure is the digital infrastructure, and Digital India is a very important element of how we are thinking about infrastructure. Along with having that high quality infrastructure, we are also looking to establish a predictable, stable, and fair tax regime. And the Honorable Prime Minister and the Honorable Finance Minister have spoken about this multiple times, that we need a tax system that is conducive to being globally competitive and enabling our businesses to flourish and prosper. And along with that, of course, the ease of doing business work that we're doing so that we take India from being 142nd in the World Bank rankings to being in the top 50. That is another very important element of making our economy globally competitive. And once we put these in place, a good tax regime, high quality infrastructure, the tax system that we need to encourage enterprise, I think that's when Make in India is going to really work. And of course, we are streamlining regulations. We are streamlining much of what you have to do to get a business going and to be able to deal with the routine compliance that you have to do. That's what we're trying to do with ease of doing business. And all of this will add to the productive capacity that our economy needs and make our economy globally competitive. But this is on the hard asset side. Even as we are building on the hard asset side, we have to build on the soft assets, and that's really the human capital that we need to power the economy forward and to be globally competitive. And this is where Skill India is so important, is that as our workforce comes into looking for jobs, we have to make sure that they have the skills so that there is a good matching of the requirements that we have as far as the workforce is concerned and what the talents and skills of our people are concerned. And Clean India, Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, that the Honorable Prime Minister has really kicked off and has become, I think, almost a social movement now, is a very important element in this, because it ensures that we have a healthy workforce, that we do what we need to do as far as sanitation is concerned and waste management is concerned. So all the different initiatives, the tax regime, the infrastructure, Clean India, Digital India, Skill India, Make in India, all of these will add up and ensure that we are going to have India that is globally competitive. But beyond that, we also have to innovate in India. And I think that's the element that we really haven't addressed sufficiently so far in much of the discussions we've had about the budget and about our priorities. But innovate in India is also very important. We are in a situation right now, and just a couple of days ago, I had Naveen Tiwari, Kunal Bahel, and Sachin Bansal, three of India's best entrepreneurs, most successful entrepreneurs, telling us as we went through the pre-budget consultations that many, many Indian entrepreneurs are leaving India. They're going to other countries. They're going to Singapore. They're going to Dubai. If we want to innovate in India, if we want to make in India, we have to keep our entrepreneurs in this country. And so innovate in India is equally important. And where will we innovate? Today, if you look at the locus of innovation, by and large, that's in the United States. It's in Palo Alto, it's in Raleigh, North Carolina, it's in Cambridge, Massachusetts. That's where the innovation is happening. But that innovation is not the right innovation for India. The innovation that's happening in the US, in Palo Alto, is the innovation for the top 1 billion people on this planet. So yes, someone sitting in a coffee shop in Palo Alto is going to come up with a mobile app that will tell you how many of your friends are going to go and be in a pub or in a brewery, craft brewery or something. And you can then check in and you can find out who's there. But that is not the right innovation for India. For India, we need a different kind of innovation. We need the innovation that's required to lift the 5, 6, 800 million people we have to lift out of poverty in the next 10 or 15 years. And that's the innovation we have to do right here in India. That's the innovation we need for Innovate in India. And there are so many sectors. My colleague Piyush Goyalji is sitting there in the audience, and he will tell you that if we have to get renewable energy going in India, if we have to build a very different paradigm for meeting our electricity needs in India, we have to think about distributed energy, not the kind of centralized energy that has worked in the US and in Europe and so on. Those models will not work for us. If we have to look to solar, for instance, as a solution for places like my state, which is Jharkhand, we have to go to distributed energy systems. We have to have solar home systems. And if we have to have solar home systems with panels on rooftops, we need DC appliances. Now, the happy fact is that when you build a DC-powered computer or a DC-powered TV, you actually reduce the cost of that, because the power electronics are such that it's actually cheaper to build that fan, to build that computer, to build that TV. But those industries are in China right now. And what a great opportunity for us as a country, that if we can build a distributed energy system where we need these DC-powered appliances, we can have Make in India working on these entirely new industries that are driven of Indian innovation and where we are not trying to replicate China. Those are the opportunities. That's what we have to do if we want to make in India. And that's just in energy. Let's talk about waste management. All of you know what it's like to travel in Indian villages or even in the mohallas and sadly the slums of Delhi and Mumbai. You'll see plastic packets everywhere. You'll see people eating chips or pan parag masala and just throwing it on the side. How do we pick up that waste and process it? We can't do that through large centralized systems. We may need compact waste management units. That's the innovation we need. Let's think about medical devices. We cannot use the expensive ultrasound and the expensive ECGs that you have in the West. We need products that are designed for India. That is the kind of innovation we can get in affordable medical devices. And even in financial services, which is a sector we look at in our ministry, microfinance, what we have to do to finance agricultural equipment will need entirely new business models. To be able to get financial services and to be able to do financial inclusion for a person in a village requires an entirely different business model and requires innovation in India. So that's what we need to add to the thinking that we have. Of course, we want to be globally competitive. but we also want to be an innovation-driven economy. And we want to innovate for our people and for the next 5 billion, not just for the top 1 billion on this planet. And if we were to do so, I think it'll power our exports forward. Just like when you go to Indonesia or Africa or in Kenya, you find people on Indian motorcycles because Indian motorcycles are affordable, they're reliable, and everybody around the world likes them. In the same way, if we do this in medical devices, we do that with solar systems, we are going to find that we will be building entirely new export industries, just like we did with the IT and the BPO industry 10 or 15 years ago. That's the opportunity for India. And if we do that, ladies and gentlemen, if we do that we have globally competitive industries, but we also have innovative industries that are exporting around the world, we will have created over the next 5 or 10 years a growth model for India that will be unique, that will be different, and that will really be able to lift our people out of the poverty and the deprivation that they face into a much better world. Achhe din tab zarur aayenge. Thank you very much. Thank you, and enjoy the conference.